Alrighty, this is it. Welcome to part one of the Mental for Moto introductory episode. I'm your host, Pete Wolf. To kick things off, I thought I'd let listeners know what we're about, what we have planned, and what our goals and aspirations are. Later, I'll be putting out a part two to this episode, where I'll cover the meaning behind the name Mental for Moto. Under the Mental for Moto banner, we're aiming to produce a range of motocross and supercross related media, which will mostly be podcast centric, but will also include content on YouTube and other social platforms, as well as written articles, which you'll find on our website, www.mentalformoto.com. That's mental, the number 4, moto.com. To have live coverage on TV of the Aussie Pro MX and Australian round of the WSX this year has been awesome, and I really hope this continues and improves in the years to come. However, for years, I felt there to be a real lack of supporting media coverage of the Australian motocross and supercross scenes in terms of online content. Interviews, reviews, behind-the-scenes stuff. It's safe to say I'm an enthusiast about all things moto. My wife likes to say I'm obsessed. And the truth is she's probably right. I consume pretty much any and all moto-related content I can find. So when I've wanted to know more about an Aussie rider, their background, their results, in most cases I found the lack of information available really frustrating. This also applies to riders I grew up watching as a kid. These guys were my childhood heroes. The riders who battled it out in the Mr. Motocross series or went toe-to-toe with the Yanks in the Supercross Masters in the 80s and 90s. It was the golden era of motocross, and apart from a few grainy clips on YouTube, there's just not a lot that's made it onto the internet. Unfortunately, I can't change the past, but I do hope to make a difference moving forward. So back to Mental for Moto, we'll be producing podcasts in 3 distinct formats. Some of our goals are pretty ambitious for a platform that's just starting out, but I'm hoping the MX community will get behind us and over time, we can realise some of the goals we've set out to achieve. The first of our podcast formats will be one-on-one interview-style podcast, which I've tentatively titled Inside the Helmet. It'll be used to interview former and current professional riders. I want to build a platform that gives fans an opportunity to get to know riders competing at the highest levels in Australia better, covers how they got into motocross, their achievements, and some of the highlights and lowlights of their careers. The long-term goal of this podcast format is to develop a bit of a historical archive of as many Australian MX athletes as possible. So in the years to come, fans can go back and listen to these episodes and get a real sense of both the individuals and the Aussie scene as a whole at a particular point in time. I would also really like to use this format to raise the profile of privateer MX athletes in Australia and to raise the profile of female MX athletes, who I feel are both underrepresented in terms of MX media coverage. The second podcast format, which will be a similar style to the first, will look at people in the broader dirt biking industry. Mechanics, shop owners, brand reps, innovators, track operators, team managers and the like. I was thinking of calling this one Nuts and Bolts, but I'm not completely sold on the name yet, so maybe this is something the listeners can help out with. If you can think of a better name for this one, hit me up via DM. If we end up using the name you come up with, I might even be able to throw a bit of gear your way. The aim of this style of podcast is to explore new developments in tech, products and gear, especially nationally, and give listeners some insight into the goings-on behind the Australian MX scene, as well as the support network behind our Aussie riders competing abroad. The last podcast format, which will fall under the Mental for Moto title, will be a roundtable style podcast with multiple guests. Our studio is based just a stone's throw from the iconic Wonthaggi motocross track here in Victoria, and currently has the capacity for up to 3 in-studio guests, plus the host. We can also patch in guests over the phone or via online chat. This format will be used to discuss all manner of events in the MX world, locally and abroad, give listeners an opportunity to hear about things our guests have got going on, talk about events, products and gear, to discuss news and review race results, bench race, and to cover anything else of interest. In addition to the 3 main podcast formats, I'll also do the occasional solo episode, covering content such as gear reviews, track reviews, and the odd opinion piece. But what I'm really committed to is creating great content that is focused on our guests and the topics that they bring to the table. I have no doubt it'll take us a little while to find our feet and refine our delivery, spruce these up a bit, and add some cool intro music, sound bites and the like, but I'm committed to this for the long haul. So please check out our website, mentalformoto.com, follow us on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube, and keep an eye out for more content in the very near future. We certainly have some great things planned. That concludes part 1 of the Mental for Moto introductory episode. Please check out part 2, where I'll explain how the Mental for Moto name came about and how it relates to the content we aim to produce. If you like what we're doing and want to share any thoughts or feedback related to this episode, are interested in coming on as a guest or supporting the show as a sponsor, please reach out via email, contact@mentalformoto.com, or DM me via one of our social profiles. Thanks for listening.